𝕊𝕆ℙ𝕀𝔸𝕃 and welcome back to my channel. Everyone is doing these videos that I'm absolutely obsessed with. I'm watching every single one and I want to do mine as well because the concept is unmatched. The person that came up with this idea is freaking genius. I actually don't know who came up with this idea. I'm suspecting a few people, but I cannot be too sure. I'm going to sort my Goodreads reading shelf by the average reading and see what books the Goodreads users consider to be the best, and then look at my own reading, obviously. I decided to actually go with a genre. I'm going to look at my romance shelf. Hopefully, I actually tag my books right, because sometimes I'm a bit too lazy with Goodreads. And I'm going to ignore graphic novels in this video as well, because I just do not think that it's fair. For example, the first book on my romance shelf by average reading is Heartstopper. I just think it's cheating because the genre is not graphic novel. I think the main genre of graphic novel is graphic novel. So we're moving on to book 2, which I consider to be book 1. Backwards to Oregon by Jay with an average rating of 4.45, and I think it is a brilliant book. I love it so much, and I'm not surprised at all that it has such a high average rating because I think it is a genre darling. It's an FF historical romance. It's so good. It's a book that I've read in a night, I think, in a few nights maybe, but I've been glued to it and I couldn't stop. I wanted to know more. I've talked a lot about this book in my other video, my queer historical romance recommendation video. If you have not seen it, watch it. But this book truly needs to be on more shelves. More people need to read it. The first character is Luke. She's a woman disguised as a man. She serves in the army, and because of the life that she chooses to live, she believes she's never is going to be loved, that she's never going to find the one. Nora, the second character, is a sex worker and she's fed up with her circumstances. She's also pregnant from a man that ditched her, so she wants to start a fresh new page. Their fates intertwine and they decide to fake marry so they would get a piece of land for free in Oregon. This is the most slow burn, most sexual tension-filled romance that I've ever read. The way Luke treated Nora as well. This woman was too stunned to speak. The relationship between them is just on another level. And I'm not surprised that people love it so much. I loved it as well, and I highly recommend it. If you've never heard about it, please pick it up. It's so good. Don't look at the cover. It's not the worst, but it's not the best, certainly. The next romance is The Brutal Truth by Lee Winter. It is rated 4.44. I give this book 3 stars personally. I really enjoyed the start of it. It's this ice queen office boss employee romance, which is all the buzzwords that I like because I'm a big stan of Mirandi, which is Miranda and Andy from The Devil Wears Prada. Yes, there's a huge fandom for it. If you didn't know, it's amazing. And I really wanted to love this book because it was pitched as sort of published Miranda fanfiction, I want to say, or inspired by, but the character development felt a bit shaky for me. The ice queen melted way too fast in certain circumstances, and I love an ice queen that keeps her dignity intact, if you know what I mean. So this was a good read. I won't disparage it, but it was not my favorite. Obviously, we also have here King Rising by C.S. Pacat, a very controversial series, in my opinion, not darker than any other dark romance that romance girlies are reading. Every single queer piece of media is judged harsher because people put way too many expectations and have way more personal connection to this type of stories. As you can see, the first book in the series is not up top because the first book in the series is not good. It's 3 stars tops. You can't give it more. It's very cliche. It's not developed enough, but as a series I think it shows excellent writing craft. The development of characters is very interesting, just the situation that they end up in, the political intrigue, the plot is interesting. So I'm not surprised that the third book and the second book both have very high average rating. The third book is 4.43 and The Prince Gambit, the second book, is 4.38. Between them is Carry the Ocean by Heidi Cullinan. I gave this book 3 stars. As far as I believe it's an MM romance, one of the characters is autistic and he's trying to disentangle himself from his parents and live an independent life. He also meets his neighbor and he's obsessed with him. I'm actually surprised that it stands at 4.39 because I don't think it's very special in any way. At times I felt, to be honest, like the autistic character is infantilized and I didn't like that, but overall it's just a basic romance, so I don't know why it's so popular. The next one is Moonstruck by Only James and it stands at 4.36. I've recently read it with a couple of friends, mostly to laugh about it. Some of us enjoyed it more than others. I gave it 2 stars. I think at this point, Only James's formula is expected. It's not particularly original. The couple was a bit more interesting at first, but then the repetition became so boring and so annoying to me. There are so many sex scenes in this book that I just started scrolling past them because they were all the same. The dialogue in them was all the same and I was fed up with it. This book is the third one in the Necessary Evil series. It's serial killer MM romances with insta-love because apparently a psychopath just focus on people and fall in love with them in 1 second. That is the only James legacy that she's going to leave behind. The next book I'm really happy to see here is Who'd Have Thought by J. Benson, and it's one of my favorite FF romances. I gave it 5 stars. The average rating of it is 4.36, the same as Moonstruck. I don't think Moonstruck deserves this, to be honest. Especially if we're comparing to Who'd Have Thought, which is an actual book. Who'd Have Thought is just one of the best fake marriage romances that I've ever read. The romance in it is so slow burn and kind of angsty, and I just love that the 2 characters spend so much time with each other to actually fall in love, because all this insta-love bullshit is not believable. The thing that is believable is sticking with each other, solving issues, talking to each other, you know, the healthy stuff. Who'd have thought follows a nurse that is deep in student debt and a doctor that needs to marry and do it quickly. I obviously recommend it. I give this book 5 stars. The next one is Letters Never Sent by Sandra Moran. I give this one 4 stars. It is at 4.35 at the moment, and this one is also an FF romance. It's a historical FF romance, but this one is a terrible, angsty tearjerker. If you're looking for this kind of thing, pick it up. But I was mildly devastated when I read it. It's about a woman who's coming to her mother's funeral to pack up the house, and she finds a bunch of letters that her mother had written to her female lover. This book is about family, it's about difficult circumstances. Pick up at your own discretion because this one is tough actually. Sometimes I read sad or dark books, it happens. The next one is also one that I'm pretty happy that I found. It's Modern English by Rachel Spangler. I've recommended this book before. I think in my If You Liked Young Royals, Read This 5-book series because it's a royal romance. It's at 4.34, a very decent rating. I give it 4 stars. The book is about a modern royal. She leases her castle to a film crew and they accidentally mix up the dates and come earlier, so she has to live with them in the same castle while they film, and she falls in love with the main actress. It's a fun one. I love the chemistry between the characters. Really glad that it has a high average rating. As you can see, a lot of the things here, the things that I've read, are queer romances, because I do read mostly queer romances. Then we have Psycho by Only James. It has 4.33. We're not going to delve deeper into it. I gave this one 4 stars. I actually think it's the best one I've read, the second one. Of course, there's Him by Serena Bowen, which has 4.29. And I do not understand the hype around this book because it's horrible in my opinion. I gave this book 1 star. Just the obvious thirst of these two authors over these two dudes having a sex was enough for me to be turned off. I was reading this book and the whole time I was thinking, this feels very disrespectful. It feels like these two women dropped these two guys under glass and they are observing them. You know what I mean? So I wasn't a fan. Band Sinister by KJ Charles, 4.25. I gave this one 5 stars. I actually think it's low for this book. It has to be 5 average because this book is so good. KJ Charles has an affinity for making you feel good about being queer, and I love that about her. Her historical romances are chef's kiss, and this one is just the queerest one, in my opinion. Not only the romance is really good, the found family aspect, so well done. The next one is Shell Game by Benny Lawrence, and this is a pirate FF romance that I didn't really like that much. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. It has 2 point of views. One is about a female pirate and her lover, and the second one is set in the modern times and is about a woman that is looking for some kind of treasure, I want to say. I remember some shenanigans with the maps. That's what I remember. The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. It has 4.24 and I give this one 4 stars. At first I gave it 3 actually, but then I couldn't let it go. I was just thinking back to this book and I gave it 4 stars eventually because something in it touched me. So I actually decided to bump up my reading. We know what this book is about. It's a reality TV setting. It's about a hero in a bachelor-style show and a producer falling in love. I don't know why I gave it 3 stars initially. I think it was just to be contrarian, because sometimes I do be like that. The next book is I'm Playing the Role of Herself by 𝕊𝕊𝕙. It has 4.24. It is actor FF romance. These two actresses fall in love and date, but they don't tell their fans. And a lot of fans write fan fiction about them, but they don't admit that they are dating. So it's kind of a all fandom people dream scenario. I know that it's really loved in the lesbian romance community, but I personally don't get it. I don't think these two characters had a lot of chemistry. I gave this book 3 stars. It was an okay romance, but it wasn't anything to write home about. The next is Think of England by KJ Charles. It has 4 stars. This book is actually a bit darker than anything else I read from KJ Charles, but I really enjoyed it as well, as I usually do. I usually enjoy KJ Charles books. Not surprised. The next one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, 4.23. I'm really happy that Ashley Herring Blake is writing romances now. I want the second book in my hands right now. It was funny. The romance was really, really hot. And also the familial drama spiced up the story. The experience of reading this book was very fulfilling. Birthday by Meredith Russo. This book has 4.22 and I give this book 4 stars. I think this book is really good. I know that there is some stuff about Meredith Russo and some allegations of sexual violence against her wife, I want to say, or ex-wife. Just putting it out there. I don't know how it ended because I wasn't following the story. I just know that there were rumors about it. But I actually think that the book is really good. It's a romance with a transgender lead and it's a very sweet friends to lovers. The relationship is very much a soulmate type relationship. I really liked how the author developed these two characters. I think this book is really good. The Single Matchmaker by J.J. Arias, it has 4.21 and I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. J.J. Arias is one of the authors that I want to try reading more. I'm reading one of her books right now and it's older and I don't think it's as good because The Single Matchmaker is really good. It's a story about a woman that works as a matchmaker. She has a matchmaking business that was given to her by her grandmother. Her partner breaks up with her, so she needs someone else now to keep up her image because you cannot be a matchmaker and be single. That's just outrageous. And she hires an actress. The Gentle Art of Fortune Hunting by KJ Charles, again, this has 4.20. I give this 4 stars. I think it is a very cozy read. I really enjoyed it. I've heard a few people that didn't like this, but I just don't understand. We're on different brain waves. We just like different things, I guess. I'm not mad at them. Unhinged by Only James. I give this book 3 stars. People decided that I'm an idiot and the average rating of this book is 4.20. I just don't think that the Only James romances are that well written. They have certain something that makes them appealing. I think the dark humor is very appealing, but I have a lot of questions. A Court of Thorns and Roses. Of course, I expected it. I thought it's actually gonna be higher. It's 4.19 and I gave it 3 stars because I don't think this book is very good. I mean, it's better than Throne of Glass, but overall it's not very good. Just for Show by Jay. This book's average is 4.19 and I gave it 2. I remember that the protagonist needed a wife or a girlfriend so she would be able to publish her book on relationships, because who would take advice from a person about relationships that is not in a relationship themselves? Makes sense. I didn't like how she treated the other character, especially her body. She talked a lot about her body being too big and that she's usually not attracted to bigger bodies. I'm like, girl, fuck off. Do people really need an opinion on their bodies from you specifically? I don't think so. I now reached the end of top 20. And it closes off with Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. Its average rating is 4.18. I actually really enjoyed it when I read it because it was a very quick read. I love the drama. I think what Colleen Hoover does best is the dark, twisted drama. And I think that some people are not down for it. Some people want to moralize and we don't like moralists on this channel. Leave. Click out. This is the top 20. I'm surprised that Red, White, and Royal Blue is not higher. It's next. It's 21st place. Take a Hint, Danny Brown is lower. I expected it to be higher because it's a very beloved book. The funniest part about this, I think, is that among top 20 on my shelf, there are only 2 straight books. And that, my friends, is hilarious. That is the straight erasure. If you expected the average rating to be different, if you expected to see certain books here that didn't make the cut, also tell me in the comments down below, because it was definitely a very surprising top 20. A lot of the books in my top 20 are fairly fresh. A lot of them are newish releases. Maybe as the time goes and the hype dies down, people read the books slower. We don't know. If you watched my previous videos, you know that I'm trying to recommend a piece of media at the end of every video that I watched recently and I enjoyed. I'm not always organized and sometimes I forget, but this time I actually prepared some notes. The TV show that I actually watched recently and really enjoyed because it hits all my buzzwords is Miss Scarlet and the Duke. It's a British-Irish production, I believe, and it follows a Victorian lady, Eliza Scarlet, whose father dies and who's unmarried. She has to rely on herself now and she decides to become a detective like her father was. She also finds an unlikely partner in her childhood friend and now Scotland Yard Inspector William. Together they take on mysterious cases. I love the show. It's a Victorian set TV show. It's short. It's about detective work. the protagonist is a woman who's a detective, and she's also a lady, and she has to somehow find a place for herself in the world. She's a sunshine type character, and there's also this gruff, grumpy guy. They are childhood friends, and they have a lot of sexual tension. He's obviously in love with her, and she doesn't know it, and it's so fun. It's a really cute show. So if you're looking for something cozy, highly recommend it. This is it for today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon with another one, but until then,